Blood sugar decides how much energy you have when you wake up in the morning. It decides how hungry you feel during the day. And over time, it quietly shapes your long-term health, whether you notice it or not. Yet, one of the most common beliefs today is simple and comforting. Stop eating for a few hours, and blood glucose must go down. No exceptions, no complexity. But inside the body, the story is far more interesting, and in some cases, completely unexpected. Fasting does change blood glucose, but not always in the direction people assume. For some, glucose drops and becomes stable. For others, it rises, sometimes higher than before. And many people never understand why. This video explains that hidden side of fasting, not opinions, not trends, not social media claims, only what the body actually does when food stops coming in. By the end of this video, you will understand how blood glucose is regulated hour by hour during fasting. You will learn why the liver plays a central role, even when no food is eaten. You will discover why some people see higher fasting glucose in the morning and think something is wrong, when it is actually a normal biological response. And you will learn why fasting helps some people but works poorly for others, even when they follow the same schedule. There is a lesser-known truth that often gets ignored. Blood sugar is not controlled by food alone. It is controlled by hormones. It is controlled by the liver. It is controlled by stress and sleep. And fasting interacts with all of these at the same time. This is where confusion begins. Someone fasts and sees lower numbers. Another person fasts and sees higher numbers. Both believe the method is either working perfectly or completely failing. In reality, both bodies are responding exactly as biology predicts. Most explanations stop at surface-level advice. Eat less, fast longer, push through hunger. This video goes deeper. You will learn what happens to insulin when fasting begins. You will learn why the body releases glucose even when no food is eaten. You will learn how survival mechanisms can override simple calorie logic. And you will learn why longer fasting is not always better for blood glucose control. There is also a quiet moment during fasting that few people talk about, a moment when the body decides whether to protect the brain or lower blood sugar. The brain always wins. Understanding that single fact changes how fasting should be viewed. This video is not here to promote fasting or discourage it. It is here to explain it clearly, calmly, scientifically. If you care about metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, or long-term glucose control, this information matters. If you are experimenting with fasting and feel confused by your results, this video will give you clarity. If you have been told that fasting works the same for everyone, this video will challenge that idea with evidence. And if you stay until the end, you will walk away with a framework, a way to think about fasting and blood glucose that goes beyond rules and trends, a way to understand your own body instead of forcing it into someone else's routine. There is no hype here, no dramatic promises, no shortcuts. Only biology doing what it has done for thousands of years. Welcome to our channel where complex health science is explained simply and honestly. If you value clear, evidence-based explanations without exaggeration, subscribe to the channel. New videos are released to help you understand your body better, one mechanism at a time. Blood glucose is simply the amount of sugar circulating in your bloodstream at any given moment. It is not something artificial or dangerous by default. It is a normal part of human biology. Most blood glucose comes from the food you eat. When you consume carbohydrates, your digestive system breaks them down into glucose. That glucose then enters the bloodstream, becomes available as fuel. Some foods raise blood glucose quickly. Others raise it more slowly. But in every case, glucose is meant to be used, not avoided. Every cell in the body can use glucose for energy. But the brain depends on it more than any other organ. The brain cannot store large amounts of fuel. It needs a steady supply of glucose to function normally. Memory, focus, mood, and reaction time all rely on stable blood glucose levels. This is why the body works so hard to keep glucose within a narrow range. When blood glucose drops, signals are sent to raise it. When it rises, other signals work to bring it down. These adjustments happen constantly, even when you are not eating. The real issue is not the presence of glucose in the blood. The issue is how well the body controls it. When control is strong, glucose enters cells efficiently and energy feels stable. When control weakens, glucose lingers in the bloodstream longer than it should, setting the stage for fatigue, hunger swings, and long-term metabolic strain. Insulin is a hormone released by the pancreas, and it plays a central role in how blood glucose is managed throughout the day. Every time glucose enters the bloodstream, insulin is released in response. Its job is to signal cells to absorb that glucose and use it for energy or store it for later use. When insulin is working efficiently, this process is smooth and controlled. Glucose does not stay in the blood for long. It moves into muscle cells, liver cells, and fat cells where it belongs. Energy levels remain steady, and hunger signals stay balanced. Over time, this system can begin to change. With frequent high glucose exposure, poor sleep, chronic stress, or excess energy intake, cells may respond less effectively to insulin. This is known as insulin resistance. Insulin is still present, sometimes in large amounts, but its signal becomes weaker. Glucose struggles to enter cells and remains circulating in the bloodstream longer than it should. As glucose stays elevated, the body compensates by releasing even more insulin. This creates a cycle where both insulin and glucose are higher than normal. When this state persists, blood vessels are exposed to constant glucose stress. The inner lining of arteries becomes more vulnerable. Small vessels in the eyes, kidneys, and nerves are especially sensitive. This is why glucose control matters beyond short-term energy. It influences how well the entire metabolic system functions hour by hour, day after day. The moment you stop eating, your body begins to adjust in ways that many people do not fully understand. Glucose from food is no longer entering the bloodstream. Insulin, which rises in response to meals, begins to fall. This drop signals the body that it can start tapping into internal energy stores. The first fuel the body relies on is glycogen. Glycogen is a stored form of glucose kept mainly in the liver and muscles. It is like a small backup supply of energy ready to be converted back into glucose when blood sugar begins to drop. This process helps keep energy levels stable while the body adapts to the absence of incoming calories. Glycogen stores are not unlimited. In most people, they last anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, depending on activity levels and metabolic rate. During this time, the body is still running primarily on glucose, but it is shifting away from food-derived sugar to these stored reserves. As glycogen is used, insulin levels stay relatively low, which improves the body's sensitivity to this hormone. Cells become more responsive to the glucose that remains in the blood. Meanwhile, other processes quietly prepare the body for longer periods without food, ensuring the brain and essential organs continue to receive a steady supply of energy. This early phase of fasting is crucial. It sets the stage for how the body manages fuel and adapts to a temporary lack of nutrients. Even when you are fasting for several hours, blood sugar does not fall to zero. The body has systems in place to prevent that from happening. One of the most important players is the liver. It acts like a glucose factory, releasing sugar into the bloodstream whenever levels start to drop. This release is essential because the brain depends almost entirely on glucose for energy. Even a short shortage can affect thinking, focus, and coordination. The liver continuously monitors blood sugar and adjusts the release of glucose to meet the needs of the body, especially the brain. The process behind this is called gluconeogenesis. It involves creating new glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, such as amino acids and lactate. This may sound complicated, but it is a normal, highly regulated process. It is not a sign that fasting is harmful or that the body is failing. On the contrary, it is survival biology at its finest. Through gluconeogenesis, the liver ensures energy remains available even when no food is consumed. It allows the body to continue functioning without interruptions. This process can maintain normal blood glucose levels for many hours, even in a prolonged fast. It demonstrates how the body prioritizes vital organs and preserves balance under conditions of limited energy intake. Short fasting periods, such as skipping a meal or fasting for 12 to 16 hours, can have a noticeable effect on how the body handles glucose. During these shorter fasts, insulin levels drop and cells become more sensitive to the hormone. This means that when glucose does enter the bloodstream, it is absorbed more efficiently by muscles and other tissues. As a result, blood sugar tends to remain more stable throughout the day, and energy levels feel steady. Longer fasts, which can extend beyond 24 hours, introduce different dynamics. The liver begins to release more glucose to maintain energy supply for the brain and vital organs. This extra glucose release can sometimes cause fasting blood sugar readings to be higher than expected. Many people interpret this as a negative response, but it is actually a normal adaptive process. This effect is especially noticeable in individuals with insulin resistance. Their cells are less responsive to insulin, so glucose remains in the bloodstream longer. During a long fast, the combination of increased liver glucose output and reduced cellular response can produce higher fasting levels. These differences highlight why context is important when looking at fasting and blood sugar. The same fasting duration may have positive effects for one person and produce unexpected readings for another. Understanding how your body responds requires observing patterns over time and recognizing that adaptation is part of the process. Many people notice that their blood sugar is higher in the morning, even if they have not eaten anything overnight. This is a common and natural occurrence known as the dawn phenomenon. It is caused by a rise in certain hormones in the early hours, particularly cortisol and growth hormone. These hormones prepare the body for the day ahead, signaling the liver to release glucose into the bloodstream. The liver acts as a glucose reservoir, supplying energy to the brain and other vital organs. Even without food, this process ensures that the body has enough fuel to start the day. The increase in morning glucose is not a sign of damage or failure. It is simply the body revealing its underlying metabolic processes. For individuals with normal insulin sensitivity, the rise in glucose is usually modest. Insulin adjusts naturally, bringing levels back into a healthy range shortly after waking. For those with insulin resistance, the effect may be more pronounced, and fasting glucose readings can appear higher than expected. Understanding the dawn phenomenon helps remove unnecessary worry about fasting or overnight blood sugar readings. It highlights that the body is constantly regulating glucose even in the absence of food, and demonstrates the sophisticated balance between hormones, the liver, and cellular energy needs. Fasting did not cause the rise, it merely revealed the body's metabolic rhythm. Fasting can be a helpful tool for certain individuals, but it is not a one-size-fits-all solution. People with mild insulin resistance often see the most benefit. When insulin sensitivity is slightly reduced, short periods without food can help the body respond more efficiently to glucose. This can lead to steadier blood sugar levels and improved metabolic function over time. Another factor that influences the effectiveness of fasting is sleep. Individuals with stable and consistent sleep patterns tend to experience better results. Sleep affects hormone balance, including insulin and cortisol, which in turn influence how glucose is managed during fasting periods. When sleep is irregular or insufficient, fasting can become more stressful to the body and may not provide the same benefits. Diet quality also matters. People who maintain balanced diets with adequate protein, healthy fats, and nutrient-rich carbohydrates are better equipped to handle periods without food. Fasting works alongside good nutrition. not in place of it. It is important to remember that fasting is a tool, not a cure. It can support metabolic health, help regulate blood sugar, and improve insulin sensitivity in the right context. However, it is not mandatory, and it does not replace healthy lifestyle habits such as balanced nutrition, physical activity, and sufficient rest. Using fasting thoughtfully and in combination with other habits can provide meaningful support for the body's natural processes. Fasting is not suitable for everyone, and some people need to approach it with caution. Individuals with diabetes who take medication are one group that requires special attention. Skipping meals can alter blood sugar in ways that interact with insulin or other medications, potentially causing dangerous lows or highs. Careful monitoring and professional guidance are essential in these situations. People with a history of eating disorders should also be cautious. Fasting can trigger restrictive behaviors or anxiety around food, which may worsen existing conditions. It is important for these individuals to focus on sustainable, balanced nutrition rather than prolonged periods without eating. Chronic stress and poor sleep are additional factors that can make fasting more challenging. Stress hormones such as cortisol can already elevate blood sugar, and lack of sleep can impair insulin sensitivity. Adding fasting on top of these conditions can increase hormonal strain, leading to unpredictable metabolic responses and potential fatigue or irritability. Fasting is more than just abstaining from food. It changes hormones, metabolism, and energy balance. Because of this, it should always be personalized. What works well for one person may be harmful to another. Understanding individual health status, lifestyle, and body responses is crucial before attempting fasting, especially in vulnerable populations. Fasting is often presented as a magic solution for blood sugar, but the truth is more nuanced. It does not instantly normalize glucose or erase the effects of years of lifestyle habits. Instead, fasting influences the way the body manages glucose over time. By reducing the frequency of food intake, insulin levels decrease and cells may become more responsive to the hormone. This improved insulin sensitivity is a central factor in better blood sugar control, often more important than the exact number of hours spent without food. Consistency is key. Regular patterns that the body can adapt to tend to produce better results than extreme approaches. Short, repeated fasting periods often provide more benefit than occasional prolonged fasts. Extreme methods can sometimes trigger stress responses, hormone imbalances, or unwanted spikes in blood sugar. It is also important to remember that biology is smarter than trends. The body prioritizes survival, brain function, and energy balance over rigid schedules or popular fasting methods. Even when fasting, the liver releases glucose, hormones adjust, and energy is maintained. These responses are not flaws. They are intelligent adaptations that have kept humans alive for thousands of years. Fasting works when it aligns with the body's natural systems. Understanding these processes is far more valuable than chasing the latest diet trend or expecting overnight transformations. If this video helped you understand how fasting affects blood sugar, give it a like. Subscribe to our channel for clear, evidence-based explanations about health and metabolism. We break down complex science into simple, easy-to-follow insights that you can use every day. If you want a follow-up video exploring different types of fasting and how to manage blood sugar safely, leave a comment below. Your questions help us create content that matters to you, so don't hesitate to share what you want to learn next.